Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to be doing a handover video on this Dethleffs motorhome. So it's a Dethleffs Esprit, based on a 2011 Fiat Ducato chassis. So under the bonnet, over on the left hand side, we have got your washer fluid reservoir just here, which has got a little filling point over here. All right, this should be bolted in down here, so I will put a little nut and bolt on there in a minute. So that's your washer fluid just there. Your engine coolant is just here. Behind that is the power steering fluid, and then at the very back there is your brake fluid just there. The engine oil filling point is this little cap just here, and you will have an engine oil dipstick just here. Over towards the right, we have got your positive terminal for your engine battery just here, and your negative or your earthing point just here at the front. The engine battery itself sits under the floor in the cab, just in front of the passenger seat, so that's why they give you an access point to the terminals just under here. Air filter gets replaced by opening up that box just there, although obviously we have done it as part of the service anyway. So that's about it for under the bonnet. Inside the passenger door, you'll see that your bonnet release handle is just there inside, and you have got various electrical goodies just down here underneath the passenger seat. So this is your EBL unit, so that's basically the power supply unit for the entire vehicle. So anything electronic has to run through there before it goes anywhere else. The diesel filling point is this one just here. So if you do need to fill up the diesel tank, it's this one just here with the grey colour to it. Make sure that you don't mistake that for the one to the right just here, which is your fresh water filling point. So if you want to fill up your fresh water, it's the one with the blue and the cap over it. And if you're filling up your diesel, it's the grey one just here next to the door. We've then got an external water point. So you can pull that out and use it as a little shower point. These two vents just here are both to do with the fridge. So if you have got the fridge lit up on gas, you normally hear a little bit of a gas burner noise just down here at the bottom one. But to be honest, this is more so for our sort of, if we're doing any servicing on the fridges or fault finding, then that's where we'll open these up and get into there. So down below here, we have got your wastewater drain off point. So you've got a little handle just here, basically, in order to drain out the wastewater. Nice and easy. And then we've got your big garage locker here at the back. So the garage itself is a really, really good size. So, there's plenty of space for all sorts in here. You've also got your gas locker inside here. All right, which you have got a refillable system. So the filling point for that is just behind the door. So when you want to fill up your gas system, your gas flow system, you've got this filling point just here. So in the UK, it's basically just a bayonet fitting to go onto that. The actual gas bottles themselves sit inside this locker inside the garage. So there's not a huge amount to explain in regards to this. I like how they've done it, where they've got the gas fitting on the outside of the van just there. It's really easy to get to, and it still looks quite neat. So to turn the bottles on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left, like so. And if you can do that on both of them, that'll then allow you to definitely have gas going in. You've got a changeover valve just here, so you can switch between the two bottles, basically, if you want to, or if you need to. At the back, the regulator, you haven't got to do anything with this. This is all just for our testing purposes, and it just regulates the amount of gas that runs through into the van. So make sure that you turn the gas bottles off before you start driving. That's really important. And if you ever needed to undo any of the gas fittings, this is your standard sort of gas fitting spanner for the pigtails and things. So yeah, that's about it really. So round the back of the van, we've got your 4-bike bike rack. Obviously it still needs a good clean, so don't worry about that too much. 4-bike bike rack and reversing camera just up there. Another door just here on this side for the other side of the garage, so I don't need to show you in there. There's not anything else for me to explain in there. So on the off side of the van just here, we've got your full-size awning up the top. All right, so you've got a really nice big wind-out awning. You've got a bullfinch fitting just here, which is for your external mains electric. So if you've got the mains electric plugged in at that point just over there, then you'll be able to use this external socket if you needed to. Next door to that is your heating and hot water vents. So if you've got either of those on, you should feel hot air coming out through the bottom of this, and that will just basically ensure that you know that it's working properly. Next door to that, we've got your external gas point. So as long as your gas is turned on inside the locker in the garage, you'll be able to use this external gas point for barbecues and whatever you have outside. Next locker we get to is your toilet cassette locker. So to remove the toilet cassette, you lift up on the little yellow tab, orange tab, sorry, just here, and then that'll allow you to take the cassette all the way out. Okay. Basically, all you need to know from there is that you empty the cassette from this little point here. So you undo that cap and drain it out from there. And at the back of the actual cassette itself, you've got a little orange button, a little circular button there at the back. And basically, you just push in on the little orange button whilst you're draining it out, and that will release a little bit of pressure and allow it to come out a lot easier. Once you've emptied it out, before you put it back in, you put 1 cap's worth of the blue fluid back inside the cassette, and then give it a little swoosh around and push it all the way back home. You'll know it's definitely in properly when this little catch here clips over the lip. As I said a minute ago, next door to that, we have got your external, this is your electric hookup point. So if you do have access to a hookup cable, it's really handy to have that plugged in. It essentially means that you'll be able to use any of your mains powered appliances, and it also means that you'll be able to use, basically the charger inside that power supply unit over there will come to life when you put that electric hookup cable in. So your leisure battery will be at full power and everything will be fully topped up. You've got a couple of chassis plates inside here, so you need to look at the top one. The one at the top is where it's been sort of uprated to 4250, so you've got a bit more payload. But yeah, not much else to explain on that one. And your electronic step switch is just here. So, I'll just pull this door this way. Don't think there's anything else to show you. Right, so I'll just jump in the van now and then we'll start getting on with whatever we've got to show you in here. So what I'll do is I'll start in the cab and then I'll work my way back. So in the actual cab itself, obviously because we've got the A-class body, you've got absolutely loads of space up here. So it feels really nice and spacious up the top just here. You have got a switch just up here, which will turn on these lights up here. So that's sort of like your reading lights, if you like. And you've got the full cab blinds in here as well. So they'll come across all the way and meet up with their little magnetic strips. Okay, they're doing that because they haven't been used for a little while. They sort of stick together. So the more often you can use them, the better they'll be. So I'll pull that back across. Just be really gentle with these because they're not the strongest things in the world, but they work just fine. So you've got, over on the right hand side, we've got your reversing camera screen just here. Okay, so you can use that as and when you need to. Down below here, there are a couple of additional switches. You don't need to worry about them too much. These ones just here are the original Fiat ones. So you've got your headlight adjustments. When you press the mode button, it will allow you to go through different things on the screen up here and change a few bits and pieces on there. You've got on the right hand stalk, we've got your washers and wipers and your trip button, so that will allow you to reset the trip and sort of see how many miles you've done in a certain trip. Over on the left hand side we have got your lights, indicators, and your cruise control stalk is just this lower one here. So you turn it on and off from there. You can select your speed from that, and then you can resume and pause from the button on the side. Now normally these kind of switches here will be to do with external lights. I'll be completely honest, I didn't do the hab check on this van, so I'm not 100% sure what they're for, but I can certainly find out. And then normally this one here would be for the step, but I'm not sure that that's been wired in like that anyway. So to be honest, as I said, I wouldn't worry too much about these switches down here. This little one just here, this little dial, you basically select which mirror you want to move and then move this little thing around here like a joystick. So that is your mirror adjustment switch, and that'll just allow you to move it to wherever you need to move it to. Over towards the middle of the cab, we've got your 6-speed manual gearbox. So over and down to the bottom right is obviously your 6th, and over and up to the top left is your reverse. To get reverse, you need to lift up on the little bit here at the back. So nice and easy from that point there. So you've got your Pioneer head unit. We always pop these head units out because as you put them back in, they normally get power again on the motorhomes. There you go. So obviously you don't really want that to happen. So pop that out just by pushing the little bottom right hand button in just there, and that'll just allow you to definitely be sure that it's not going to start, run on and sort of drain your battery out. Below that, we've got your heater controls. So if I just zoom in a little bit there, we've got your air conditioning switch from this one just here. So that's your aircon switch. Temperature is on the outside of the left-hand one, and your fan, where the air blows to, is on this one just here. You got recirculate or draw in from outside, just there, and your fan speed on the left-hand one. Below that, we've got your ASR switch, which is all to do with the traction control, I believe. And basically, if you're going to go off-roading, you can turn that one on. Fingers crossed you won't be doing much off-roading in this, but there you go. So you've got your lock and unlock button just here. Now, these don't really do much in this van because we've got an A-class cab. So the front door isn't central locking. So this button here won't do anything at all, apart from perhaps set the alarm. Although I don't think it will anyway, because let me just grab the keys out, because you've got a Cobra alarm system on here. So you've got all around the vehicle, you'll have these little sort of things here, these little bits that sort of meet together when the doors close, and that's basically your sensors. So if they get, if their sort of connection gets broken, as in if somebody breaks into one of the doors, then this alarm should go off if you've armed it. So yeah. So hazard warning lights from the switch just there in the middle. Fog lamp is that one there, and that is about it. So what I'll do is I'll just sort of spin myself around and start showing you through the back of the van. So what should I start with? So generally I start with just sort of showing you through the layout first, just so you can get an idea of what we're looking at. So this is a really typical layout, especially for these A-class motorhomes, where you've got the drop down bed over the cab. I will just point out as well, to drop the bed down you will need to release the seats to go down like so, which is as easy as doing what I've just done there, twisting this backwards a little bit. You can do this side or that side, and then it will just release the seat. So easy as that. Do that to both of those seats, and you'll then be able to bring this bed all the way down. Also really important to make sure that you put the sun visors back up as well, because they can push up against the windscreen. So manual drop down bed. You've got your seating area just here, which you can, I believe, swivel the table all the way around and move it in all sorts of different places. Full-size kitchen area just here. The Dethleffs are actually normally pretty good with this. A lot of the German vans don't tend to have much in the way of cooking, especially on the inside of the van. They tend to do a lot of cooking outside. But actually the Dethleffs always have this nice good-sized kitchen here, which is actually always pretty handy. So proper kitchen there, 3-burner hob, and your oven and grill just down here. We have got a bit of storage in there, not a huge amount, but a little bit, with a couple of hangers there. The full-size fridge. Okay, so this is your proper Dometic fridge with the freezer compartment at the top. What else have we got? Not much in there. And then we've got the well, this is just growing in popularity now. You've got the sort of twin, what we call a twin fixed single beds. So you can pull a couple of bits out, I believe, around here. Oh. Don't pull them out all the way like I've just done there. But you pull these little bits out, which are a little bit stiff to do with one hand, but basically you pull those bits out. I would need my other hand to do that, but you pull those two bits out just there and drop this piece in, and then you get your sort of full width double bed up here. So if you wanted to use it as a double bed, you can. Most people, I think, would just use it as 2 singles, but it's completely up to you how you would like to do it. But yeah, so that is the general layout. Obviously with the bathroom in here as well. Okay, so just your standard sort of toilet to the left, shower compartment to the right. So I'll start off with the control panel area, which is all this above the habitation door. So this is your standard Dethleffs control panel. This is a really, really standard way of them laying it out. Very simple to use. So basically you've got a main on and off switch just here. The one that says 12 volt, that is your main power switch on and off, and that will turn on various lights and anything that's powered from your leisure battery. So essentially your leisure battery powers up anything 12 volt related. So that's your lights, that is fan, that means any ignitions that you might have, and so on. So essentially that is your main on and off switch for the van. So your 12 volt switch that on. You'll then be able to go and press any of these 5 switches just here. They're not switches, actually, they're just buttons. So we've got your internal temperature button, 19 degrees. External temperature, 16 degrees. We've then got your engine battery voltage, 12 and a bit volts. Leisure battery voltage, 12 volts. And your fresh and waste water levels. So we've got 0 in the fresh tank and 0 in the waste tank. So that is just the general gist of the control panel. That honestly is all there is to it. This little button over here, I believe, is just like a reserve button. It could be that you've got tank heaters inside the vehicle, and now every van is different, so you probably would have to have a little look through the paperwork, but I believe that the reserve button here is basically for tank heaters if you have them. If you have the electric hookup plugged in, you have this little light here that will light up like the 12 volt one is. That will light up white, and then you've got your time over here on the clock. And that's it. That is the control panel in its entirety. There's not really much else to it. But essentially, as I said, once you've turned the 12 volt switch on, you'll then be able to go ahead and use all of your lights and the majority of things. And the only things that won't work by having that 12 volt switch on are any of your mains powered appliances. So you won't be able to use any of your 3-pin sockets because they are mains powered. And you won't be able to use the mains powered appliances. So your electric hookup point just here on the fridge, that won't work because we're not hooked up. Got a little red light in there. And the heating and hot water also has an option for the mains, so that won't work either. So if I just sort of get straight on, well, actually, I tell you what, I'll just show you a few little bits and pieces first. So inside this locker here, it's quite an important little locker. You've got actually 2 solar panels up on the roof. And so you've actually got 2 sort of regulators in here. So you haven't got to do anything with these, okay? You just sort of let them do their thing. But, you know, I'm just sort of pointing out to you that you have got 2 regulators there. So that's all that is, really. There's nothing to it, honestly. You just leave them to do their own thing. Just have a little look. You have got another TV bracket area in here if you want to use that one, but obviously you have got your normal telly just there already, and you've also got one in the back of the van here in the bedroom. So next door to the main control panel here, we've got the control panel for the heating and hot water. So the Audi heating systems are really, really good. Basically, the way that these work, the difference between this and your sort of standard Truma combi boiler, as they call them, is that this isn't a blown air heating system. Now, what you'll notice is that behind nearly every single seat, you've got a gap like this. Okay, you've got gaps behind all of the seats just there, which you don't normally see on motorhomes and caravans. So the reason for that, as you can see down there as well, the reason for that is that you've actually got radiators all around the van. Absolutely everywhere inside the van are little radiators, and that's because you've got what's called a wet central heating system. So it works exactly like a household heating system, where you've got radiators, you've got a boiler that heats water up and pumps it around. Okay, so that's how the heating system works in this van and most bigger German vehicles. So in the bathroom there'll probably be an actual radiator sometimes. Yeah, so this just here, this is an actual radiator here, and actually on that point you've also got your coolant level in there for that as well, and that is where it should be, by the way, just down below just around the minimum line, because it will expand and sort of bubble up a little bit when you're using it. Now basically the reason I'm telling you that about the heating system is that sometimes when people move from combi boilers to the Audi heating systems, they can find that it takes a little bit longer to get the van warm in the first place. That's totally normal, because it will take a good sort of 20 minutes to half an hour to actually get the water hot and pumping around. But the big plus side to it is that when you turn it off, it will keep the van warm for far longer than a blown air heating system would, because the blown air heating just turns itself off and stops blowing, whereas these ones, the radiators actually have to cool right down before it will stop heating the van up. So they work a lot better in seriously cold climates than the blown air heatings does. But that is the big plus side to this one, and being a proper well-built German vehicle, they tend to have the Audi heating systems. Other thing to mention on this one is that this is actually what's called a double-skinned van. So when I say double-skinned, what I mean is the floor that we're standing on just here isn't actually the lowest floor to the ground underneath us. So you've actually got a secondary floor underneath, about half a foot lower, sort of 6 inches or so lower, and it doubles up as a massive amount of storage as well. So you can lift these up and load them right up if you want to. You've got absolutely loads of storage running through the vehicle, through that sort of double skinned area. Now the big plus side to having this is that when if you think about a house, you've got a cavity wall. So most houses, you've got an external wall and an internal wall with a gap, purely really for insulation purposes. So this is exactly the same. The floor that we're standing on and that we get to sort of live on inside the vehicle here isn't the floor that goes directly to the ground outside. So you've got that additional insulating area between. So great for insulation, and as I say, that's the majority of these bigger sort of A-class motorhomes here will have that double skinned area. So anyway, if we move on to the heating and hot water system, the Audi heating system. When I turn it on, it comes up telling us what model it is. So it's an Audi 3010. And basically it's telling us general information on this screen here. So if I press menu, that'll then take us through to the menu screen telling us, or sort of telling the boiler what to actually do. Okay, so at the top, we've got the heating. So that just says 19.5. Now that is essentially the temperature that we've got the heating set to at the moment. You can go through and change that. You have to press quite hard on the buttons. You can go through and change what temperature you want the van to get to, just like a thermostat at home. Okay. The next one down is our hot water. So we can just basically choose 1 or 2 on that one. Okay. Next one below that and the one at the bottom are your 2 options of how the boiler actually works. So as I say, we've got the heating at the top, hot water, second one down, and the 2 at the bottom are just electric or gas. So they are your 2 options on the boiler itself of how it actually uses, basically the 2 at the top are telling the boiler what to do. The 2 at the bottom are telling the boiler what energy to use to do it. So if we were hooked up on the mains, I could select 1, 2, or 3 kilowatts of electricity. Now, I will say, like I always say on these Audi heating systems, that I think personally that 3 kilowatts is far too much power. I don't see a reason that you would ever need to use that much power. basically the amount of watts that you use will correlate to an amount of amps. And when you go to a campsite, they'll say to you, if you are hooked up on the mains, they'll say, right, you've got 10 amps to, or let's be more realistic, you've got 13 amps, okay? You've got 13 amps to play with on your hookup point. Now, as soon as you hook up the van onto the hookup, you'll have the electric charger will come to life, and that'll be drawing anywhere between half an amp and 1 amp. So you got that straight away. You might have your fridge on the electric, which I mentioned earlier is this one here. If you have that one on, that's 1 amp. So you've now got about 2 amps that you've got powering up at the moment. You've then got various sockets around the vehicle. As I said, that's all mains powered, and then you can blah, blah, blah. Anyway, point is, if you've got 13 amps that you're plugged into, you can't go over that amount of amps at any one time. And with the Audi heating systems, if you select 3 kilowatts on your electric option there, you're going to be drawing about 12 amps from that one unit. So the point being, if you are plugged into a 10 amp or a 13 amp post or something like that, and you choose 3 kilowatts on there, you're pretty much at your maximum power before even using anything else. So, you're going to be maxing out your power level immediately without even thinking about using the fridge or sockets or anything like that. So I always try to recommend to just steer clear of the 3 kilowatt one, unless you've got a massive ampage that you're plugged into, which is unlikely. So I would use 1 or 2 kilowatts on there at any one time if I was you. The bottom one, the gas, is much more simple. You just basically press on and it will light up on gas and start working. That's all there is to it. So as long as you turn your gas bulbs on in the locker at the back, that'll just get on and do its own thing. Okay, so if I turn the gas off, the boiler is now completely off because we haven't got any green lights on the menu screen. So hopefully that makes sense. That is your heating and hot water. Very, very simple and easy to use. Once you've done that a few times, that'll be like second nature. It doesn't take long to get used to at all. So let's just have a little look in these cupboards. What's that? That might even be a little Wi-Fi. Yeah, that is a little motorhome Wi-Fi system. So you might have to get your own little SIM card for that. But yeah, have a little look into that. There should be paperwork for it in the folder. They're all just little bits that have been fitted by a previous owner, so not covered by us or anything, but worth looking into. So above here we've got your microwave, okay, which again is a mains powered appliance, so that won't work unless your hookup's plugged in. Okay. Now the actual kitchen area itself is very simple. So you've got a 3-burner hob, which you will need an ignition or a long reach lighter or something like that to light any 3 of these up. Your sink just here. There is actually a little bit of a thing I need to explain about the sink. When it comes to using the hot water, if you actually want to get the water hot, you do need to make sure of one thing first. So essentially, you need to make sure that you've actually got water inside the boiler itself. Okay. Now the only way to do that, if I just open up this little area down here, you'll notice down here by all of this mechanical gubbins down here, you'll see in the corner a little yellow tab. So that little yellow tab is basically the boiler drain off point. So if you wanted to drain out all of the water from inside the boiler, then you can lift that upright and it will drain everything out onto the floor. Now the only reason that you would do that is if you were going to winterize the van and get it ready for the winter so that nothing will freeze up inside this boiler. So winterizing the van is really important because it means that you won't allow any water to stay inside, freeze up and expand and create a whole world of problems for you. So lifting that up is really important when you're leaving it for an extended period of time over the winter. But if you can see there the drain is down flat, then that means the boiler drain is closed, which is good. You would then come over to the control panel and just make sure that you've got some water in your fresh tank, which, as we can see at the moment, we have no water in the fresh tank because it's flashing red at us. So that's the first step. Make sure that you've got water in your fresh tank and make sure that your boiler drains down. From there, to make sure that the boiler is actually full, all you have to do is draw the water through this tap just here and make sure that it's coming through nice and clearly on the hot side. So basically, if the boiler is full, the water will come through nice and clearly. It won't cough and splutter everywhere, and you'll know that your boiler's full up. If the boiler isn't full, or even if it's not quite full, you'll just get air coming out and it will just be coughing and going everywhere. Okay, so you need to make sure that you allow the water to come through nice and clearly, turn the tap off, and then you can go ahead and use the hot water however you want to. But as I say, if you find that when you turn the tap on, like if I show you now, I might get a little bit of water coming through. But pretty soon, because I know that the fresh tank is empty, I know that this will start sort of coughing and spluttering and being a little bit temperamental. So it's just starting to go now. Well, a bit of a bad example really, because I've obviously got a bit more water than I thought. But, you know, essentially, if you can see that there's water coming through the tap nice and clearly like it was just there, then the boiler's full. Okay, it's as simple as that. As I say, you will just get coughing and spluttering everywhere if it's empty, and that will just be a good sign to make sure that you you know, wait for the water to come through nice and clearly before you start trying to use the hot water. So that is the whole story with the water system, just making sure that you've got water in the boiler before you start trying to use it on the heating system. A bit of storage in there, and we've got your gas isolators just here. So if I just tell you which one does what. So we've got your oven and grill, 3-burner hob, fridge and boiler. So if you wanted to isolate the gas from any of those appliances, you just literally twist them like so, and that'll now be the gas isolated. Now you don't need to do that every time you get out of the vehicle or anything like that. You literally just do that if you think there's a problem with a specific appliance. Okay. Now the oven and grill has got its own ignition, as I said. All right, and it's basically push in and round to the right for the grill, in and round to the left for the oven, with the ignition on, obviously. So really, really simple on that one. And your 3 burners on the top there have got their own little dials just here. As I said, you will need an ignition switch for those, but it's just literally push in and round for that. So it's very, very simple. So the fridge is the next thing to explain. So this is a Dometic AES fridge, which is automatic energy selection. All right, so this means that you've got the little auto function here on the controller. So if I select auto, what should happen is it should select gas for me, because I don't have the hookup plugged in and I don't have the engine running, so I can't use the 12-volt switch here. So let's just see what it does. There you go, it's chosen gas for us straight away. It's just going to light up. There you go. So I've chosen the auto function. It's selected gas for us straight away because that is the most efficient and the only way that the fridge can actually work right now. So realistically, the way that these things have been built is that you can leave it on auto and it should select the correct option for you at all times. Okay, so you can do that if you want to. I will explain to you how to use it manually though, just in case this ever stops working. So the 3 options, as I said, we've got gas, we've got mains electric, and we've got 12-volt. Now the gas and the mains electric, the 2 top ones, are the only way that this fridge will actually get cold from warm. Okay, so right now I haven't had the fridge on for a few days, so the fridge is not cold at all. If I select 12-volt, which by the way only works when your engine's running, hence why we've got a little red light in here. If I select that with the engine running and leave it for half an hour, this fridge will probably feel exactly the same as it does now. Okay, the 12-volt option when your engine's running is only for holding the temperature inside the fridge once you've already cooled it down. It is not powerful enough to get the fridge cold by itself, especially on these really good sized sort of stack style fridge. So you need to select either gas or electric when you actually want to get the fridge cold. So you do need to do this before you go away. Obviously, you'd have to go, out early in the morning for, leave it for a good few hours or so to get cold. Even if you can, do it over the night before. It's the best way to do it. So at the moment, I haven't got the hookup plugged in, so I have to use gas. So I'll just select gas. Okay, and that's it. You got a temperature gauge on the right, which will adjust the temperature, but you only really need to adjust that once the fridge is completely cold, and you can really gauge it properly then. So the electric hookup, if you've got the hookup cable plugged in, I would advise you to use it on the mains. And as I said, if you've pre-cooled the fridge and you're going to start driving, select 12 volt there. If it's a particularly hot and sunny day in the middle of summer, you can press this little button just here, and if it has been fitted, the little fan on the back of the unit will come to life and just allow a little bit more air to pump around for the gas. Some of them don't have that fitted at all, but there you go. So that is the fridge, nice and easy. Don't think there's much to show you in the back end just here. It's just obviously loads of storage space, and overhead lights up there as well. By the way, in case you wondered why you have this little bar here, it's not because the previous owner was trying to sort of imprison anybody. It's it's because for a little while they started having these obviously if you think about it, when you're laying in this bed here, if you roll around in the middle of the night, you're going to hit on this window and end up cracking something and breaking it. So they've started fitting these little poles here to stop you from rolling into the window and causing yourself a sort of £1,000 mistake, because these windows are not cheap. So that's why they started doing that, basically, just in case you wondered. So the last thing to show you is going to be the bathroom. I don't tend to spend much time showing you anything in the bathrooms because you've quite literally got a hot and cold tap there for the shower point, hot and cold tap there for the sink. And then the toilet is very straightforward, but I will just show you how to use it. So basically, you've got a little handle just down here, which when you pull on it, will open up the flap for the toilet cassette just there. So when you push it back, you can see the flap moving left to right. So somewhere around here, there will be a little button for the flush. There you go, just here. Now if I press on that button just here, you can see the flush fluid pumps around, and then you pull it open to flush it. Okay, so you basically, the idea is that you put a little bit of flush fluid around first, go to the toilet, and then drain it out into the cassette. Make sure that you push this back again, otherwise you will not be able to take the cassette out from outside, because when it's open like that, it's locked in position. So I think that is about it, really. I don't think there's much else to explain. I'm just sort of having a little look around to see if there is, but I don't think there is. So if there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just give us a shout. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.